I want to welcome everyone here today, and I want to thank you for coming to be a part of this celebration of the life of Marilyn Ingram. My name is Amy, and I'm a family friend, and on behalf of Bill and his family, I want to convey how grateful they are that you've come here today to support them. I also want to convey the thanks, their thanks for all the caring ways that people have helped and encouraged them over these last couple of months. And just convey, too, that they've felt this kindness. So thank you. There are many relationships represented here as I look out over the crowd, and it's really beautiful to see. And Marilyn's at the center of that. Someone shared with me just before, everyone here has something in common. They're here because they liked Marilyn. And it's a beautiful thing to remember, to celebrate. There are people here from Bill and Marilyn's neighbors of 50 years on Hawthorne Avenue. There's the people here from Calvin Presbyterian. There's family from Vancouver, from Fernie, from Squamish, from Powell River, from Austria, and there's all the friends that have experienced deep and meaningful connections with Bill and Marilyn and their family. Beautiful relationships. Today we want to honor the life that God gave to Marilyn. We want to celebrate together the beautiful person that she has been, and we want to experience relationship, knowing that Marilyn valued connection and enjoyment shared between people, right? Because Marilyn passed so quickly, sadly, she didn't have a chance to say goodbye to many of you. After her diagnosis, she'd hoped to have one last hug and visit and chat in her garden. She had wanted that. We recognize that it may still be hard for many of you because you've missed that opportunity. Marilyn chose a song to be sung today that hopefully can offer us a sense of peace in our loss and in our sadness, and give us encouragement that she truly was at peace with it all. I'd like to pray and then invite Dawn up to lead us in this song together. Let's pray. Creator God, loving Christ, comforting Spirit. Show us you are here with us today and give us a reason to believe in your love. Amen.
I invite those who are able to rise as together we sing, "It is well with my soul."
So Before I get to Marilyn's story, I just want to share a few things. Firstly, for the record, I am Marilyn's favorite son-in-law. Maybe top two. Okay. Secondly, Marilyn was my best mother-in-law that I ever had. Okay. And last, and most importantly, I'm here today because 30 years ago, Marilyn, always wanting to bring joy and love, promised to find me a wife. And lucky for you and me, we're here today. So, here we go. All right, drink of water. Where'd you go? There we go. Got that out. So, Marilyn lit up the lives of all who knew her. Strangers quickly became friends, and she had a genuine interest in all others. Marilyn was appreciated for her optimism, her kindness, and her love of a party, and it is with great sadness that we mourn her loss. Born in Halifax, August 1st, 1944, to Alex and Beulah Kennedy, Marilyn grew up in North Vancouver, and like her father, she was gregarious, and having a 4-year head start on her siblings, she quickly adopted a leadership role. To illustrate this point, when I visited the Kennedy home, where she grew up, the words Busy Bee Club could still be seen etched on the wooden cellar door. In addition to organizing and loving her brothers, Murray, David, and Bruce, wait, we missed something there. A little backwards there, we'll get that. Where'd we go? Marilyn was part of a large extended family who lived in close proximity and spent time together. Her favorite cousin, Joanne, shared that Marilyn loved to sing and refused to believe that others weren't as keen to join in. This belief never wavered, and I know we'll be singing the 12 Days of Christmas and the Grand Old Duke of York in her honor for a long time to come. Marilyn and her family skied in winters, picnicked at the beach in summers. Life on Chesterfield Avenue went on. She went to high school at Delbrook, where she was a cheerleader. She was an avid reader and bright. Her brother Murray remembered her participating in Reach for the Top, a local televised high school quiz show. Marilyn had a tight-knit group of girlfriends and a strong bond with her mother Beulah, who sewed many of her clothes and waited up to hear about her parties and dates. Marilyn shared her stories and her life lovingly. After graduating in 1962, Marilyn attended UBC, completing a BA in Honors History as well as a teaching certificate. Although it can be said diplomatically that Marilyn's early life was the foundation for her confidence, it has also been said that she was the princess of the family. One anecdote that illustrates this has been shared by her brothers, who are to this day still smarting from the injustice. Marilyn lived at home during her time at UBC and borrowed the family car regularly. On one occasion, as she backed the car out of the carport, the door was left open, ripping it from its hinges. Although Princess Marilyn was quickly forgiven, from that point forward, her 3 brothers were banned from using the family car. Following her time at UBC, Marilyn traveled to Europe for the summer, and upon her return, received a phone call from the superintendent of the Fernie School Board. He needed a high school English teacher, and in the remote East Kootenays. So it happened at the end of the summer, Alex drove his daughter across the province to her first job. Being unfamiliar with Fernie, Alex thought it best to consult someone in a position of authority. So upon their arrival, they went directly to the local police station and inquired where a young lady, new to town, might find suitable accommodation. The answer was the nurse's residence, women only and safe. Marilyn, in her words, didn't know how to boil water, lived here during her year in Fernie. This employment opportunity changed the course of Marilyn's life, for it was there she met I said earlier, this part was got me. Bill Ingram. Look, there he is. Mountain man. Now, Bill was a fellow teacher. From all accounts, he didn't stand a chance. Marilyn and Bill courted in the splendor of the Kootenays. Bill taught her to fish on the Bull River, and they explored and adventured with Bill's dogs and horse. Marilyn won the hearts of the female students with her shoe collection and endeared herself to her friends, his friends, and sister, Dorothea. In 1968, the pair married and relocated to Abbotsford, where Marilyn taught English and history. Daughters Christine and Sylvie arrived shortly after, and Marilyn and Bill raised their girls amongst chickens, dogs, gardens. When school was in session, summers were spent enjoying life at Rosen Lake. Marilyn and Bill taught the family to water ski, skinny dip, as well enjoys the wonders of the natural world. Close ties with friends from the Kootenays were renewed each year, and guests from Abbotsford were welcomed as well. As I can attest, the cabin at Rosen Lake is a special place. Her family will honor her in the coming years. Well, there we go. In the coming years by carrying on the tradition she's begun. There will be huckleberry pie making, campfire sing-alongs, Scrabble, and canoeing in the moonlight. As a young mom, Marilyn reduced her teaching load from full-time to part-time, helping struggling readers who came to see her for learning assistance. She coached girls basketball as well as organized a program for gifted students. The friends she made during her time at South Poplar Elementary were dear to her heart. Reducing her workload as a teacher allowed Marilyn to spend more time at home supporting her family and modeling the values she held. She had a strong faith and served her church and community humbly, from hosting refugees to providing beautiful bouquets at Calvin Presbyterian. During her 52 years with the University Women's Club, she lobbied the local government, speaking out against the development of McKee Peak and other issues with informed eloquence. Her involvement with USCW allowed her to connect with friends who shared common interests. Sorry. Yeah. Marilyn and her co-members fundraised over the course of many years, creating a scholarship fund to help young women pursue higher education. You might have noticed this scholarship mentioned in the bulletin. It's in the program. Marilyn was a member of Small Wheel, Socratic Investors, Bridge, Hiking, and Book Club. So many layers of connection. As Sylvia and I gathered photos for the slideshow, you'll see later, we came across decade after decade of happy times. So many of you here today shared in Marilyn's life, for truly she made friends wherever she went. I will let the photos speak for some of these good times. Jogging with Jane, beats with Bruce, Paris with David, dinner parties with roasted pigs and gourmet desserts, ski, golf, kayak, and canoe trips. Bill and Marilyn's life looks a little bit like a beer commercial without the drinking. Back to family life. From the arrival of the first grandchildren, Nanny was all in. She and Papa would arrive toting baskets for dinner, desserts, flowers to support work-weary mothers. Between trips around the world, including 4 months teaching in China, the pair took Hannah, Leaf, Finn, and Bia hiking to Aldergrove Park, skiing to Sun Peaks, vacationing in Mexico, Hawaii, the Gulf Islands, loving them unconditionally. As words can't express the relationships and family bonds that Marilyn created as the matriarch of the family, we'll rely on photos. She was a truly wonderful support in their life and so much fun. From her early years until the month before she left us, Marilyn was high on life, packing a week's worth of activity into each day. Up early in the morning, you could find her baking everything but the kitchen sink cookies, tending her roses in a nightgown, or cycling, ball cap tucked beneath her helmet, always with a big smile. The weekend Marilyn went to the hospital, she brought dessert to our family in Yarrow to accompany a Friday night dinner. She hosted Brother Bruce and sister-in-law Mo for dinner on Saturday. She hosted her brother Murray and sister-in-law Karen for dinner on Sunday, biked 25 kilometers, and took her granddaughter Bia out for lunch. I'm sure there was some gardening in there as well. That weekend wasn't exceptionally busy. That was how she rolled. This summer, Marilyn was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia. Although this was a shock and a terrible blow, she faced her illness with the same positive attitude that she showed throughout her life. She made friends with nurses. She appreciated her books. She had sleepovers and sharing sessions with her daughters and spent quiet, loving moments with Bill. Marilyn was grateful that she was able to spend her last hours in her beautiful garden, surrounded by the family who loved her and her flowers. Marilyn always found the silver lining. When the sun shone, she'd say, "We're so lucky to have sun." If it rained, she'd say, "Aren't we lucky it's not too hot?" Although this summer has felt anything but lucky, aren't we lucky to have known her? Fittingly, her last words to me, with a beatific smile upon her face, were, "Aren't you lucky I found you a wife?" Yes, Marilyn, thank you.
Thanks, Hugh. After hearing these highlights from Marilyn's life, it's easy to recognize a strong theme of the value that she placed on relationship. Heard it through the whole story and memories that were shared. People were genuinely important to her, and she loved being in the company with others. She had her favorite, of course, with Bill at the very top. But she was constantly making the effort to make new friends, to bring people together, to offer encouragement, to help those in need, and to foster connections with family, friends, and even strangers. Marilyn and I share a common faith. There is a common thread that believes in a God who created and purposed us for relationship. The need to be loved and to love is central to our human nature. It's what we're made for. It's God's desire for us to experience loving relationship with Him, and it's His desire to see people experiencing love in their relationships with one another. Now, we all know too easily that sometimes the hope and intention for love to be shared falls short. There are difficult people, there are difficult situations, and we ourselves can be difficult. But we can be encouraged in knowing that this struggle is common to humanity, and there are always new opportunities for loving encounter. Bill chose a collection of his favorite Bible verses that he wanted read today. And these words speak about the love that is required for these kind of relationships to flourish. God is the perfect example of love. And I believe these verses give us a place to turn to when we need to be reminded that everything comes back to love. It's the beginning, it's the end, it's what we live for, and it's possible with God. So I'm going to read now from 1 Corinthians 13, 1-13. If I speak in the language of men and of angels, but didn't love others, I would only be a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. If I had the gift of prophecy, and if I understood all mysteries and possessed all knowledge, and if I had a faith that could move mountains but didn't love others, it would be nothing. If I gave everything I had to the poor and even sacrificed my body that I could boast about it, but I didn't love others, I would have gained nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It's not rude. It's not self-seeking. Love is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but it rejoices with the truth. It always protects. It always trusts. It always hopes. It always perseveres. Love never fails. But where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when completeness comes, what is in part disappears. When I was a child, I talked like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put away the childhood behind me. For now we see only a reflection as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall fully know, even as I am fully known. And now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. Thanks, Bill, for choosing these verses that remind us that love is the most important thing that we can live for. One of Marilyn's ideas, we've heard that she's had many, was encouraging music in the lives of her grandchildren. And this idea of hers grew into a group of musicians called the Yarrow String Quartet. Finn and Bia and Nicholas and William will now play some of Marilyn's favorites.
That was so beautiful. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Christine Jensen now, was Ingram. I'm Bill and Marilyn's eldest daughter. Sylvia and I wrote something together, but I was voted most likely to get through it. So she was going to be up here with me, but I think we've got the connection. So thank you all so much for coming today. So Hugh has read Marilyn's eulogy, and you've had a chance to see some pictures and photos that represent the different phases of her life. As much as these photos and text summarize her 79 years, it can't do justice to the life that was as full as hers was. As we speak today about Marilyn as a mother and as nanny, we find it impossible to sum up everything. So what we thought we'd do was to share some insights and some anecdotes, just because she was so deserving of a tribute. Marilyn was an adventurous mother. Instead of the traditional birthday cake, she made baked Alaska for Sylvie's 8th birthday. This recipe involves caramelizing ice cream-filled meringue bomb at high heat. Sylvie recalls her grade 3 party guests watching curiously as Mum put ice cream into the oven. No one knew how it would turn out. My mom enjoyed a moonlit paddle on the lake. She also spearheaded river expeditions, with the most memorable ending with the canoe pinned to the bottom of the Skagit River. It was not until a few weeks later that Dad got a call that the divers had recovered the canoe from the bottom. This summer, our families went on Marilyn-inspired adventures in the East Kootenays to honor her and to heal. As we hiked up to Bear Lake, remembered that the last time that we had been up there had been with my mom. In addition to hiking 1,800 feet to a spectacular peak, she then asked the boys to turn their backs because she'd forgotten her suit, and then joined in the gang for a dip and a dive in the Alpine Lake on the way down. She was 71 at the time. Our mom welcomed fun and trying new things. She was eager to purchase a family paddleboard when stand-up boards were still unique. Unlike other grandmothers, the paddleboard was not just for her kids and her grandkids, though. Mother Marilyn took up paddling around Rosen Lake in her 70s. She found adventure on the Elk River in the East Kootenays. She learned how to fish with Bill in the 1960s. She went canoed down it with her grandkids in booster seats in the 2000s, and then tried out river kayaking in the 2010s. It didn't take much to convince Mom into moving from the security and comfort of a canoe into a solo kayak for a section of the Elk River. "Oh, that was fun," she said afterwards. From childhood to present day, our mom was an inspiration. As much as we recognized our mom's generosity as adult children, growing up in the Ingram household wasn't always easy. There were some very lean years from a teenager's perspective. We suffered through school lunches consisted of wizened apples kept in cold storage throughout the winter, and aged bran muffins. Going out for dinner was an annual event, not a weekly outing. We were forced from our beds at the crack of dawn to go hiking when our friends were sleeping in. Does that sound familiar? It wasn't until we were in our 30s and beyond that we were able to appreciate that Marilyn's generous nature was apparent in the time that she spent and the experiences that she gave. Mom was a big sports fan. Sylvia and I can remember her arriving in ski pants and rubber boots from a day at Manning Park to cheer on the Abbey Panther girls basketball team. Later in life, she applauded her grandchildren with equal enthusiasm and sponsored them as young musicians and artists. She taught them to paint in watercolor and took them to musicals. She loved Hannah's campfire solo, never missed an opportunity to listen to Bia and Finn play the violin, and she raved when Leaf learned romance on the guitar. Her encouragement and sponsorship of sport and music and art was truly a wonderful gift, one that will extend beyond her life. We'll never forget Mom and Dad arriving at our homes with baskets of food and buckets of flowers in our years as young mothers. When our kids were little, Papa and Nanny would orchestrate 5-day hikes, daycaring the kids like scout leaders. Even after their grandkids were in school, they'd continue to travel out to White Rock and Yarrow every week, welcoming the kids home from school, staying for dinner and a round of bridge, a concert on whatever instrument that they were learning. Mom's delight and genuine interest in whatever they were doing was a gift. She saw the best in all of us. Sylvie had a chance to see my mom in action as a teacher when she came help Sylvie test English levels. Sylvie was always impatient for my mom to get through as many students as she could, but Mom took forever listening to one student read. When Sylvie looked at her notes afterwards, Mom had recorded what the students said about their siblings, where they were going on their spring break. Random details, totally unrelated to the actual reading evaluation. But without exception, the students came back grinning, feeling good about themselves, and loving Mom. Mom got to know them and built them up, finding their strengths and praising them. I think that's a big part of why we all love spending time with her. She was curious about our lives, and she praised us too. So to conclude, although it's hard to condense such a full life into short anecdotes, when we've reflected on how our mother had lived her life, her actions told us to listen with interest, to see the best in everyone, to welcome adventure, to enjoy current friendships, but to also offer friendship to other people who might need you, to be grateful, and to see that your cup is half full. I'd like to invite Tina to come up next. Tina is a good friend of my mom's.
I am deeply honored today to speak on behalf of the University Women's Club of Abbotsford. Marilyn was a cherished member of our club for 52 years. Over this time, she held many positions, including serving as president several times. She frequently sat on our program committee and was a strong supporter of advocacy. It's hard to believe that just 4 months ago, Marilyn spoke at our 70th anniversary celebration, giving a brief history of the club, highlighting the issues and advocacy that we've supported over the years. A goal of CFUW has always been to support women and girls in education. In the early years, this meant finding new and innovative ways to fundraise to support our scholarships. In the early 90s, Marilyn attended a garden tour in Vancouver and came home inspired. She convinced us that organizing a garden tour in our community would be an excellent way to showcase gardens here and in Mission, as well as raise a little bit of money for scholarships. Little did we know that this would be a roaring success. Over the years, we raised thousands of dollars for our endowment fund at UFV. Of course, Bill and Marilyn's garden was a highlight on the tour when it was held here in Abbotsford. As each year passed, the garden tour grew in popularity, encompassing a tea garden and raffle prizes. We finally decided, after hosting 6 years of garden tours, that we needed to find a less intensive way to fundraise. Marilyn's love of gardening was a passion she shared with all of us. To the delight of CFUW presidents finishing their term of office, we would be rewarded with a stunning bouquet created by Marilyn with flowers from her garden. So many of us have reaped the benefit of her and Bill's generous sharing of plants over the years. Iris in the spring, dahlias in the summer, and asters in the fall grace our garden, thanks to the Ingrams. Each year as we welcome the new growth, we will be reminded of Marilyn's enthusiasm and delight in the garden. Marilyn was a trailblazer in more ways than one. On most Monday mornings over the past few years, Marilyn would lead a group of us on a hike of McKee Peak. On Sunday evening, we would receive a message from Marilyn. Meet you at treetops at 9:30. Marilyn knew every trail on the mountain, and depending on time, we would hike for 1 or more hours, trying our best to keep up with her. As we hiked, we would chatter away. Marilyn would frequently recommend books that she was reading, or she'd stop for a moment, point out the trillium, or a stand of trees, or an unusual mushroom. Her love of nature was contagious and inspiring. We were so fortunate to spend those precious hours together. As a passionate proponent of saving the peak, Marilyn spent years trying to convince our local city council to do all it could to preserve the trails, the canopy, and the plants and the animals that thrive there. As part of our Greenways Committee in the early 90s, Marilyn and other members of the committee took most of our city councilors on the McKee Peak Loop Trail, where they experienced the beauty and uniqueness of the mountain. As time passed, it appeared that the development of McKee Peak was inevitable. Because of our long-standing advocacy at City Council, CFUW was invited to give our input re the proposed development. Marilyn coined the phrase mountain warriors of the members who spoke at 2 public meetings, encouraging City Council to protect as much of McKee Peak as possible. She then gave an eloquent, thoughtful presentation to Council this spring on our behalf at the first public meeting. Marilyn touched our lives in so many ways. She belonged to a CFUW bridge group for more than 20 years. She was a thoughtful bridge player, always taking a moment to plan her strategy and then play with quiet determination. She was a kind and considerate partner to those of us who hadn't quite yet mastered her skill level. Many of us also met Marilyn on the golf course, where she would arrive in a beautiful sun hat, linen trousers, and matching top. Her goal was protection from the sun, but she did so in a most stylish manner. All of us were in shock to find that Marilyn was in hospital this past June. We all hoped and prayed for more time, but that was not to be. During her short stay in hospital, she would correspond with us via email. She would encourage us to take advantage of the apples in her garden, or thank us for offering to give her a ride to the hospital when necessary. We were connected to her right to the end. On the Friday before she died, she courageously said goodbye to us, reminding us all of the wonderful times we spent together. I'm not sure I will ever meet anyone quite like her again. I'd like to close with a quote from Marilyn's dear friend, Anne. I am thankful to have known such a kind, energetic, intelligent, thoughtful, brave, and courageous person. I will be sad every time I'm in my garden and think of her like a beautiful butterfly, bringing joy to so many.
Hi, I'm Murray. I'm the eldest brother. I grew up like Marilyn was always in my view. You know, I never knew a day when she wasn't until she died. You know, she was always here. I'm just gonna. You know, she was wonderful, and you know, and you're all here because you know her and you like her, and so you're coming. That's, you know, I'll tell you what it's the other side of it, a little bit. No, not that. No, she's wonderful, but no, like what it was like to lose her. It was like, oh my God, you know, I wasn't prepared to lose anybody. I mean, she was like losing Marilyn was like unacceptable to me. And she came down with leukemia in the middle of June, right? We were, Joanne and Karen and I were visiting, having dinner with Bill and Marilyn, and we went for a bike ride. I don't know how far we went, but we went for a long bike ride, and then Marilyn cooked dinner, and we sat out in the garden and talked, and it was just wonderful. And we said goodnight around about 8:45, and we went home, and we found out that she was in the hospital like 2.5 hours later, you know. She had pneumonia, and I was like, oh my God. So anyway, she was undergoing chemo, and we were all just sort of living like you live when someone you love is in the hospital and they're being treated, and how's it going? You don't want to phone the family because you don't want to overwhelm them, but you want to know, going back and forth like that, watching this thing going on. And Karen and I we were going to Newfoundland, and Marilyn gave us her blessing to go to Newfoundland. I'll be fine. Go and have your time in Newfoundland. So we're in Newfoundland. And Bruce calls me. Bruce is the youngest brother, and he phoned and said, they're giving Marilyn 3 days to live. We're on the west coast of Newfoundland. And, oh my God. So we got a plane flight. The next morning we drove to St. John's. We were right across the island, flying home, like, we got to be home. We phoned we phoned Bess. She's in Quebec. Marilyn's got 3 days to live, so Bess came. And Ian was down on the Oregon coast holidaying with his family. You know, Marilyn's got 3 days to live. So Ian comes home. We're all coming home. And then we realized we don't have permission. The kids don't have permission to come to the ceremony in the garden. And Luke too. So I phoned Sylvie from the departure lounge in Edmonton, because they're coming back on the way back from Newfoundland. Sylvie, Bess is coming from Quebec. Can she come? And Sylvie said, oh, of course, Marilyn loves Bess. And Ian's coming from Portland. Can he come? Oh, yeah, sure, Ian can come. And we can't have, Bess and Ian without inviting Luke. Yes, of course, Luke can come. She said, you heard this line already in the ceremony. Mom loves a party. So, yeah, we all come. So I'm on Newfoundland time, and I wake up at 4 in the morning of the day she's going to die. I'm invited to her death. We're all invited to. The family's invited to Marilyn's last day. And that's not an invitation you want to ever hear. You're invited to the end of their life. I mean, it was just like this. Every cell in my body is like, this is my sister. I don't want to go to her death. It's like, I'm just a big screaming no, I'm lying there in bed, there's nothing you can do about it. But can you imagine, It's just like, no, And there's no getting around it. It's just coming. Time to get up. Time to drive to Abbotsford. Time to show up in the garden. And we're all in the garden like a bunch of wounded animals just sort of moping around the garden. And the bed's set up in the garden. This is my mom and dad's bed. Picture my mom and dad, our mom and dad's on this little table beside the bed. And we're just like a bunch of, I think we were mostly pretty depressed, And the scene, the way it was designed, was we were supposed to be out of view, and they were going to bring Marilyn and put her in the bed, and then we could come out and see Marilyn, we'd do the ceremony. But we were kind of like dysfunctional, and we weren't paying attention. And so when they brought Marilyn, we're all just sort of moping around the garden like Eeyores, and they get Marilyn out of the ambulance, and they rolling her across the lawn, and she sees us in the garden, and she goes, hi, you guys. Hi, just waving to us like, isn't this great? It's a nice sunny day, It's just like, and like our mope, our combined sort of sense of grief and depression, just came into full incompatible contact with Marilyn's cheerfulness. Like, it just didn't fit, Like she wouldn't let us be in our grief. She was this light, and she was just shining. And she wasn't going to stop shining because she was going to die in an hour. She just kept on shining. And that's what I wanted to say. I just wanted to describe that to you because it, you can't fake that, right? This is real. And that's who she was. So we gathered around the bed. There was a horseshoe around the bed. And everybody spoke. It was Bill and Chris and Sylvan, you guys, and Finn and Bea, and Leaf and Hannah, Joanne, my family, Bruce and Mo. And there was one other person who wasn't in the family who was there as a minister. And we all spoke. I just want, so everybody said something. And Marilyn just sat there in bed, and she was just so present, so there. I don't know what was going on in her body, but it was like she was elevated to a place of absolute attention and awareness and sensitivity and interest and love and connection with each person as they spoke. And humor. It was just there like that, And just one example. There were lots of examples, but I'll just give you one. Karen, my wife, said, she said something, among the things she said, I'm really going to miss you because I don't know where I'll get such good recommendations for my book club than from you. You always have such good things. And Marilyn said, and this is true, oh yeah, I'm reading, I don't know what it was, but I'm reading this right now, and it's really good. It's like, and I'm not going to finish it though, And we all had a little laugh, she's reading a book when she's dying of cancer. She's reading a book. She's not getting to the end of it, and she's excited about it. She's just like bright inside and out. She was a light and a vivacity and a zest for life. And, she's almost gone, and she's still reading that book. Out of love. It's always out of that. So she just held us in her loving way, in her presence and her fullness and her being. And she just lifted us all up. And so I came into it, and I think we all came into it in this place of aversion. I don't want to be here, I don't want to be here. And she just picked us up right above all that. And we were, and there was acceptance about it. And that hymn we sang is well with our soul. It was well with her soul. She'd come to some place where she was just loved, and she wasn't paying any attention to anything else. She was just there as that. And every moment was just gold. So they did the maid, after she was gone, I went out into the garden. There she's body's lying in the bed. And I just want to tell you this, because I think you probably all know Marilyn, liked her, loved her. And her body was there in the bed, and she was propped up, and her head was over on her left shoulder. And she had a little smile on her face. She was sort of somehow, she would have been up for living till she was 105. But as it turned out, she didn't get to complete her 79th year, but she was complete. you know. You could see it. You could feel that she'd found a place, in spite of all her love for life and for everybody in her sphere. She'd found a place of being complete with it, being acceptance and love, and I could feel that. It was there in her. So she was a teacher, you know, and she was teaching all the time. And her last creation, she created how she died. And it was a lesson. It was just like this gift to all of us. It was just this beautiful gift. And I want to share that gift. And what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to share that gift. We're all going to die, you know. She really showed us how to do it with love and with grace and with incredible dignity and presence. It was so beautiful to be with her. One last thing I just wanted to say. After I turned away from the bed, you know, she wasn't in her body, but it felt like she was in all the atmosphere of the garden, the sun. It just felt her everywhere. And when we came in to the house, you know, Hannah said, Bill spoke to us all. It was really beautiful. And then some of us spoke, and Hannah said, you know, I know Nana's passed away, but I feel like she's still here. She's just not here physically, but I can feel her. And I think we all could feel her. I think we all could take her in our hearts and have her in our hearts, because she's available in that way. So I just wanted to share that. So thank you. Thanks for coming and respecting your friend and my sister and Bill's wife, Christy and Sylvie's mom, you know. And thanks, everyone. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I invite you now to rise as we sing, Go Now in Peace.
It's on the back of your program if you want to follow along. It's called a liturgy for the planting of flowers. It's a prayer that was shared with Marilyn before she passed, And it really connects with her love for nature, her love for her garden, her flowers. We've heard already people speak about that being an important part of her life. It also speaks of a God who wants to remind us that he really sees us, that he cares about what we're going through, and that he promises to be with us here while we move toward the best that is yet to come. So I want to read this prayer, and I hope that we can be reminded of these things. In a world shadowed by cruelty, violence, and loss, is there good reason for the planting of flowers? Ah, yes. For these bursts of color and beautiful blooms are bright dabs of grace, witnesses to a promise, reminders of a spreading beauty more eternal, and therefore stronger than any evil, any grief, than any injustice or violence. What is the source of their beauty? From whence does it spring? The forms of these flowers are the intentional designs of a creator who has not abandoned his broken and rebellious creation, but has instead wholly given himself to the work of redeeming it. He scattered the evidences of creation's former glories across the entire scape of heaven and earth. And these evidences are also foretastes of the coming redemption of all things, that those who live in this hard time between glories might see and remember, might see and take heart, might see and take delight in the extravagant beauty of bud and bloom, knowing that these living witnesses are rumors and reminders of a joy that will soon swallow all sorrow. Let these flowers, O Lord, bear witness in their deepest natures to eternal things, and let our lives also, O Lord, do the same. Amen.
State of old New York, my home away from home. In the state of New York, I came of age when first I started roaming. And the trees grow high in New York State, and they shine like gold in autumn. Never had the blues from whence I came, but in New York State I caught. Talk to me of Mendocino, closing my eyes I hear the sea. Must I wait? Must I follow? Won't you say, come with me? And he's gone to South Bend, Indiana, flat out on the western plains, rise up over the Rockies and down on into California. Where but the rocks remain, and let the sun set on the ocean. I will watch it from the shore. I went swimming, this summer I might have drowned. But I held my breath and I kicked my feet and I moved my arms around. Moved my arms around. This summer I swam in the ocean and swam in a swimming pool. Salt my wounds, chlorine my eyes, I'm a self-destructive fool. Self-destructive fool. This summer I did the backstroke, and you know that that's not all. I did the breaststroke and the butterfly and the old Australian crawl. The old Australian crawl. This summer I swam in a public place at a reservoir to boot. At the latter I was informal, at the former I wore my suit. I wore my swimming suit, yeah. This summer I did swan dives and jackknives for you all. And once when you weren't looking, I did a cannonball. Did a cannonball. This summer I went swimming. This summer I might have drowned. But I held my breath and I kicked my feet and I moved my arms around. Moved my arms around.
each of you for being here today and for supporting the family. And the family will lead the way out into the reception hall, and we want each one of you to know that you're invited to join for a time of visiting and refreshment. Please enjoy also and take delight in the flowers that are on the tables, because they're from Bill and Marilyn's garden. So thank you for being here, and please stay.